Om Namah Pranavartaya Shuddha-jnanaika-murtaye Nirmalaya Prasantaya Dakshina-murtaye Namaha Arunagiri-mupetam Satchidananda-murtim Ramana-iti Prithivyam Vishrutam Jnana-suryam Gahana-hridaya-vidyam Leelaya-bodhayantam Satatam-aham-ameyam Sadgurum Samsmarami. My pranams. We were at the 56th verse last time. 56th and the 57th verses of Devi Kalottaram are connected. So I will just go to 56 and come back to 57. What we saw last time was Brahmadibhir Deva Manushya Nagaihi Gandharva Yakshapsara Sanganaischa Yajnaihi Anekaihi Ahameva Pujyaha. He says, Ishvara says, whatever yajnas are done, they are all done for me. Mameva sarve pratipujayanti. Whoever worships anybody, they are worshipping only me. And this line repeats in the next verse. Tapobihi ugraihi vividaischa dhanaihi mameva sarve pratipujayanti. Bhutani chaham sthira jangamani yavanti chanyan ahamevatani. Bhagavan's translation. Arum tavangal. Arum, very rare. Extra word here. Arum tavangal danam aneka vidattalum archippavar ennaye arum paranda charachara bhudangal saarndu ulam atru ellam uruvanam yane unar. Accurate translation from the original Sanskrit. What this says is that whoever worships only me through various means, through various methods, various worships are followed. All those things only reach me, says Ishvara. And then he says, Bhutani chaham sthira jangamani. I am the entire thing. All the elements that you see which make this world, this universe, things that are moving and unmoving, all those things are only me. He says, sthira jangamani. That which moves, that which does not move. Yavanti chanyam ahamevatani. I am the only one. So he is saying that I am the creator and also the creation. So he is the cause of the entire universe, and this cause can be two types. Advaita Vedanta says there can be two types of causes. One is known as the instrumental cause, the one who makes it. He is an instrumental cause. This is a nimitta karanam, they say. The other one is known as upadhana karanam. Upadhana karanam is the material cause. For example, a carpenter makes some furniture. Carpenter is the nimitta karanam. He is the one who is the instrument in making the furniture. And the furniture is made of wood, let us say. Then wood becomes the upadhana karanam or the material cause. But in the case of this universe, what Bhagavan says is, what Ishvara says is, that I am the nimitta karanam and I am the upadhana karanam also. Because there is no other substance that is used to create this Prakriti. The Prakriti is the same as what comes out of me. Of course, here is where it is different from the Sankhya Yogam and other Yogam. They consider it can be two. Purusha and Prakriti are eternally apart. That's the thinking. But in Advaita Vedantam, same consciousness everywhere. All these things that you see are only in consciousness because they are all appearances in the consciousness. Just as there are movies going on a screen, the screen is the consciousness, and in this consciousness, all these appearances are there. So there is no difference between the nimitta karanam and upadhana karanam. They become one and the same thing. That's what he says here. Bhutani chaham sthira jangamani yavanti chanyan ahamevatani, says Ishvara in this. Bhagavan says in Upadesasaram, we know Ashtamurti Bhriti Deva Pujanam. If somebody is interested in doing puja, yes, go ahead and do. It's not as though that only Atma Vicharam is advised by me. Go ahead and then do puja. Pujanam, japa, chintanam, all these things will gradually take you from one level to the next level, from the gross level to the subtle level. Because the consciousness, the Supreme Self is subtle, so we need to move from this bhautika, prapancham, slowly, gradually become more and more subtle and finally become the subtlest of all. So he says there's a gradual process. Pujanam, japa is subtle than pujanam because pujanam we do a lot of activities and actions and so on. Chintanam is even subtler than japam. Japam is, you'll be able to make use of the words and vakyam. Whereas in dhyanam, it becomes subtler. Chintanam kramad. Having said that, he says, when you are doing puja, why don't you do it this way? Instead of having an idol and then doing puja to the idol, which is good to start with, it gives you ekagrata, your mind becomes concentrated and so on. But do it this way. Consider this entire creation as his form. This Ashtamurti, Ennuru, he says in Tamil, 8 forms. What are the 8 forms? Adi Shankara gives a expansion of this in his Dakshinamurti Stotram. Bhurambhams. Bhu is earth. Amba is water. Analaha. Anala is fire. Anilaha is Vayu. Ambaram is space. Aharnataha, he says, Aharnataha is the Lord of the day, who is sun. And Himamshuhu is Chandra. Chandra represents all the planets in this universe, and Surya represents all the stars in this universe. Himamshu Puman. Finally, he says the last one is Puman, this Jiva. This individual is also me. That is the 8, the forms. The 8th form is this Jiva. All the things that move, all the Jivas. He is all the Jivas. He is the other form. The 8th form of this Ashtamurti is this. Actually, this Ashtamurti Pujanam, this Vandanam, even Kalidasa uses in the Abhijnana Shakuntalam, is magnum opus. In the very first verse is Ashtamurti Vandanam. Of course, there, instead of mentioning sun and the moon, he says the dividers of time, the 2 dividers of time, he says. He has to show his poetic capability. Because sun and the moon are the dividers of time, isn't it? Without these movements, we cannot really make the time calculation and so on. Anyway, Ashtamurti. So Bhagavan says, when you do puja, remember to do puja to the entire universe. Have that as your object of worship. Then you are going to go nearer and nearer to the supreme truth. Puman. The last one is, every jiva is also he. And Bhagavan was an example of that. No, it's easy to talk about, consider everybody as yourself and he as a Ishvara, all this as words are all okay. But can anyone have that feeling? We feel that I am different, you are different. Is it possible to think that any jiva is only me and it is only God? That kind of a feeling will not come. I'm going to tell you a story which very well-known story, but which came out much, much later. About 35-40 years after Bhagavan's Mahanirvan, this story came out, because when this took place, only his attendant was there, Krishna Swami by name. Krishna Swami and Bhagavan were alone there, and he did not mention this to anybody, because immediately after Bhagavan's Mahanirvan, everybody went out from that place. He came back to the ashram and all the thing. He had a little grouse with the ashram. Anyway, all those were settled, and then he stayed in the ashram. Krishna Swami, the attendant, he was known as the hall Sarvadhikari because he was a dictator in the hall. Unless he says, nothing can move. He says, put on the fan, you have to put on the fan. When he says that radio cannot be played, no, people will have to switch off the radio. So he was given the name Hall Sarvadhikari. Anyway, this attendant Krishna Swami was a very peculiar person. He was mentioning this story. See, in this Kartikeya Deepam time, the pilgrims from the bhaktas from the nearby villages, extremely devoted to this Kartikeya Deepam, this Arunachalam, very innocent villagers. And how they do the Giri Pradakshanam, every pond, every tirtham, they will have a dip in that, whether there is water or not. In fact, after 100 people, the water will anyway dry up. In that mud, they will have a bath. Go around every pond, they will have a bath. And we will finally come and then meet Bhagavan also. Without meeting Bhagavan, having his darshan, the The Girivalam is not complete for them. So they come and they will be dirty, completely dirty. The whole place will be stinking with all the waters that they had put on themselves. They would come and then touch Bhagavan's feet and then go away. Bhagavan would be waiting for them, and his face would be glorious at that day. On these special days, he will be with a lot of expectation. He will welcome them, that smile and other things. He was overjoyed when this Kartikeya Deepam festival took place. But at the end of the whole day, the place is so dirty. Ashram people were becoming more and more annoyed with all these people coming and touching Bhagavan, making all the place dirty and so on. It seems one year, Sarvadhikari told Krishna Swami that let the fence that is near the sofa of Bhagavan, let it be moved away from him. Let us create a safe zone up to the sofa, create a safe zone, move the fence closer to the door so they can come and then stand near the door and then move away. Nobody will dirty the place and then nobody will go and touch Bhagavan. That's the main thing. And do it when Bhagavan is not there. He's going to object to that. Do it when he is not there. So he tried to do that. But by the time he finished doing it, Bhagavan came back. He asked him, what are you doing? Why are you moving this fence, this wooden fence? And then he said, I believe Sarvadhikari said that it has to be done this way. The place is becoming dirty and so on. Oh, is that so? Okay, you have listened to their command. You have moved the fence. Now, please listen to me also. My appeal to you is move the sofa nearer to the fence. Move the sofa also nearer to the fence. Then again, I believe he protested. He said, Bhagavan, what is this? They come and then they come to have your darshan. They touch your feet and make this place dirty. Oh, is that what you feel? That I am giving darshan to them? Don't you know that they are giving darshan to me? Arunachala is coming all these forms and he is giving darshan to me. And I believe in Tamil he added, Adhikita o in the irpu. Roughly translated, what it means is the very purpose of this existence. Even there, this impersonality is there. He's not saying my existence, he is saying this existence. The very reason for this existence is to get this opportunity to see them as God. So he really saw them as Arunachala Swarupis. That was his feeling. This was not revealed for a long time. 91 or 92, I believe he gave an interview, and the videographers also there. There's a YouTube video available. There he mentioned, what is the extraordinary thing that happened to you? At that time, Krishna Swami mentioned it. Otherwise, nobody would have known this. Bhagavan always saw everybody. It is not even compassion. Even to use the word compassion is not correct. It is bordering on reverence. Recently, I came across a story. Bhagavan and a few others were walking, and suddenly a pigeon fell down, came down, fell at his feet. It was unconscious, almost dead. It was not moving at all. Bhagavan took it, looked at it, and then he felt that it could be revived. So it seems he said that if somebody has grapes, the grape, if it is crushed, the juice, if it is put on the head of this pigeon, it will survive. I don't know where he had this kind of a medical knowledge. Anyway, and somebody really walked in with the grapes at that time. The usual thing in Bhagavan's case. At a coincidence, somebody walked in, and then of course, and they were crushing and putting the juice on the pigeon's head. This is not the story. The main story is when all this was going on, Bhagavan looked around, and there he saw a boy standing with a sling at a distance. He was the one who brought down the pigeon. He looked at him, and we would have either scolded him or we would have ignored him. But Bhagavan, it seems, told them, this is his food today. We have taken away his food. Give some 2 annas to him, he will be happy. So somebody produced some 2 annas and that was given to the boy and he went away. Point I am making is, He felt the pain of the pigeon. He also felt the hunger of that boy. He was one with everybody. And as I said, it is not even compassion. It was bordering on reverence for every living form, every living being. He would wait very, very patiently for those Harijan women, those Dalit women, the outcast women during the summertime in Skandashramam. He would be waiting with a bucket of water because those people would be, they will be gathering wood and other things. And they would be coming, and they would not be able to get water in any place. In those days, all the caste rules were very strict. They would not be able. Bhagavan would wait for them. And then they would ask, Swami, please pour some water on my back. And then he would take, because it was so burning hot, and they ask for water, he would give water and all the things. He saw them as Arunachala Swarupis. Once he told his mother, because there was a woman who was pregnant and she also had a very small baby. And she said, from the morning you had not eaten anything. So it seems he asked Kunjaswami, go bring food from inside. Then Kunjaswami told him, no, mother has not taken. Mother was cooking in those days. Mother has not taken her own food. So without, her lunch, she won't be able to give food to others. I mean, the orthodox rules. No, go and ask her. He went and asked. My mother said the same thing. No, I have not taken my food. How can I give food? Bhagavan himself, I believe, went. Amma, please come. He took her by the hand, took her to the place where all these people were there. Do you know who they are? It seems he asked her. Was she supposed to know them? She did not know. What is this he is asking? Am I supposed to know them? No, I don't know. Don't you see? They're all Arunachala Swarupis. She looked at them and she must have had some kind of an experience at that time, because she must have the power of his words and the way in which he said this. I think she also must have seen the forms as divine forms. She ran inside, brought all the food and then gave it to them. And her orthodoxy from that day onwards gradually went away. And finally, all the vasanas were also removed. Why I am saying all this is, Ashtamurti Brit Deva Pujanam is something that is very easy to say. But to feel it, to experience it, that itself is a great thing. So, Bhagavan was able to see them when Ishvara says, Bhutani Chaham, I am all this. I am only all these things. Sthira Jangamani, the ones that are moving, the ones that are not moving, everything, even the stone is me, the earth is me. What we consider as unconscious, I am them all. Yavanti Chanyan Ahamevatani. All these things and many others are only me. That is this verse. And there's only one small thing in this. Arum Tavangal Danam Aneha Vidattalum. Danam is charity. He says, all the charities finally come to me. Tavangal, all the austerities, tapoha, tapobihi, all the tapas, whatever is being done, also are directed towards me, says Ishvara. In the previous verse, he uses the word yajna. And in this word, he uses a word which is dana and other things. Yajna are also known as ishtis. A form of yajnas are known as ishti. Ishti means that which is performed with a particular desire in mind. Putra Kameshti, the most, familiar name, Putra Kameshti. In order to get a progeny, Dasharatha performed Putra Kameshti. Ishti is something that is done with a desire in mind. Whereas this another type of a thing, same thing, it is known as Purta. Ishti and Purta. Purtas are charitable activities. In those days, they used to dig well to get water, make lakes, build temples and big educational institutes and so on. All these charitable activities, they are also worship towards me, says Bhagavan, says Ishvara. Whatever is done, even all these things which are considered for the good of the entire humanity, whatever you do, they are also worship. So yajnas which are for personal benefits, they're also coming to me. Even those things that are performed for the good of others, they are also directed at me. So everything, whatever is being done, is done only towards me. So have this kind of a feeling that the whole universe is only him, and do your puja and your worship, then that will take you there. Ultimately, it will take you there. That's what it says. Na stula sukshmo, na cha shunya rupo, jnanaika rupo, jagadeka bandhuhu, nirantaro, nirmala ishvaroham, swapnahi avasthachuta nishprapanchaha. We're loaded with various words. This particular thing. Stulanum, sukshmanum, shunyanum allanan. Nyalatin bandhu nan. I am the friend of this entire universe, says Ishvara. Jnanamayan. I am only of the form of awareness, of knowledge. Jnanamayan. Nilum, nirantaran. Nirantaran is eternal. Nirantaran, antaram illada sthiti. That is, without having any antaram. Antaram means a gap. This can apply to both time and space. When it applies to time, it is eternity. When it applies to space, it means I am pervading the entire, without leaving any gap. I fill the whole universe. And eternity. Eternity, Bhagavan once said, I believe, eternity does not mean an extension in time. We all think that eternity is 5 trillion years ago, on 5 trillion years hence, and so on. It's not an extension in time. Then what is it? It is going beyond time. Because time is just a concept of the mind. You go beyond mind, that is real eternity. That is Nirantaram. So here Bhagavan says, Nirantaram, Ishan, Vimalan, Neel Avasthai illon. I don't have this Avasthatrayam. I'm beyond all this Avasthatrayam. Prapancham illon. No world at all. Nishprapanchaha. These words are getting used. Prapanchopashamam says Mandukya Upanishad, that 9th mantram, which is a very popular mantram. Prapanchopashamam. What it means is, mind again is subsided. Only when the mind is active, this universe is seen by us, perceived by us. When the mind is not active, where is the world? In deep sleep or in samadhi, there is no world. And the jnani sees the world, but not as apart from him. For him, the world is within him. So in that sense, for the jnani also, there is no prapancham at all, nishprapancham. So he says, na stula sukshmo. Stulam, sukshmam, and instead of the causal body, he uses a word shunya rupam. Shunya rupam, because that causal body, that body of darkness, where there is an avaranam, where your knowledge of the self is completely hidden. And you do not know anything at all, you are not aware of anything, you see only darkness, and you are very happy. The feeling of happiness is there, you don't see anything. When you see, I don't see anything, it does not mean it is the experiencer is absent there. The experiencer is experiencing absence. Experience continues to take place. It is not an absence. It is an absence of experience, but it is more like an experience of absence. You experience absence. So there is an experiencer during the avastha, this deep sleep state. So this entity which is continuing in all the 3 states, that is what I am. The entity that is there in the wakeful state is not there in the deep sleep state. It is not there in the dream state. You take on another body, and then you have your swapna prapancham. Even sitting here, if you are going to think about, going to India, going to Ramanashramam, we take that swapna deham only. This is a kalpana deham. It's a deham of imagination. You take all this. So without any body, normally, we do not exist at all. Some body or the other is there. So in the shunya sthiti, in the sthiti of deep sleep, the body that is taken is known as the causal body. Because it is only from this causal body, the other two experiences, they come out. That is why it is known as Karana Shariram. It is the Karanam, it is the cause for our Swapna Deham and our wakeful state. And it is the cause for your next birth also. All the vasanas are all collected together in a dense form, and they are all tied up there in the darkness. So here he says, I am totally away from the subtle body, the gross body, and also the causal body. And I am away. I transcend all the three avasthas. I am in the Turiya avastha, what is generally called as the fourth avastha. Apart from the waking, the swapna, and the sushupti states, these three avasthas, the fourth avastha, we say, is the state which is fundamental to all these three things. All the three states, they come and go on this state, and that is the state of the Atman, and that is the state of a Jnani that we call as a Turiya. But Bhagavan says Turiyam is the only state. Turiyam is the only state. Because we are used to all these other three states, we consider them as real. We are calling this as the fourth state, but this is the only real state. The other three are unreal, not to be counted along with the real. Only state is Turiya state. So he says here, Ishvara says that I am not the subtle body, I am not the stula body, I am not the gross body, not the subtle body, nor the causal body. So a little bit of research into these three bodies, because Bhagavan has not normally talked about all the definition of the three bodies in a great extent. But when he translated Viveka Chudamani, where all these things are there, he has mentioned that. So I will just read out what is the definition of a subtle body and the gross body and so on. The gross body, according to our Vedanta, is made up of 5 elements. 5 elements we know. Starting from, Appu, Vayu, Teyu, all these things, earth, water, fire, and air, and also the space. All the 5 elements, it is made of these 5 elements, but it is made of these 5 elements in a very, very complicated manner. This is what Shankaracharya says. This combining of these elements is known as Panchikaranam. These 5 elements, they combine together in a peculiar manner. He gives a complete list of how they combine with each other and so on. To start with, there is the unmanifest state, and when manifestation begins, unmanifest Brahman, when the manifestation starts to take place, that is known as Mahat. And from that Mahat comes Ahankaram. And from this Ahankaram, all these Panchabhutas, they also emerge from this. And they're all combining in a particular manner to make the gross body. Our body, the gross body, is just matter. It is a combination of all these elements. And it is born as the result of our past karmas. It is a vehicle for experience. It does not experience anything. We think that the body is experiencing. Body does not experience anything. Body just gathers information, sensations. Gathers the sensations, and there is somebody else inside who is experiencing, not the body. Body has no method of experiencing anything at all. It is just a vehicle for the experience. And it constantly undergoes changes. Every minute, so many new cells are created, so many cells, they die down. There's a constant change going on in the body. In fact, Vedanta says there are 6 methods of changes. There are asti, before the manifestation, before the embryonic stage, it is there, just yes, asti. And then jayate, then the baby is born. Vardhate, it grows. Viparimanate, it undergoes a lot of changes, adolescence, and so many changes are going on. And then there is a stage where it starts decaying, upakshiyate. It starts decaying, apakshiyate, vinashyati. Finally, it goes. So, complete changes. So, the changeful body cannot be me because I am unchanging. If something is changeful, it cannot be real. I am apart from these changeful things. So, that is why I am not this stula shariram. The subtle body is made up of, again, the 5 elements, but not through this complicated process. It is apanchi kartam, it is said. It is the experiencer. It is an instrument for all the experiences. In fact, the sensations of the body are acted upon by the mind and it converts it into suffering. Suffering is in the mind. Body may be conveying the pain, but the suffering happens in the mind. So Bhagavan used to say, there is pain, but no suffering. This is how you have to understand. There is no suffering. How can we say that? There is pain, but no suffering, he used to say. It's what happens because the mind is totally absent in a jnani. So this is an experiencer. And it is the combination of 5 pancha pranas, the karmendriyas, the jnanendriyas, and the 5 elements. So 4 groups are there. In addition to that, Adi Shankara says mind and intellect, along with that avidya and karma. These are also added. So this subtle body is a combination of all these elements, 8 elements. He calls it as Ashtapuri. Puri Ashtakam. In Viveka Chudamani, this word comes Puri Ashtakam. This is a city of 8 zones. It's all combined together, and that is the subtle body. And it is the subtle body that transmigrates. At the time of death, subtle body takes on another body. This moves. And subtle body is the one that gives life to anything. As I was saying, consciousness is there everywhere. There's no place where consciousness is not there. Moving and unmoving things. Consciousness is there in everything. Even in a corpse, consciousness is there. So what gives life? Difference between consciousness and life is consciousness, when it manifests, it becomes life. And what makes the life happen? It is the subtle body. So in all those elements where only consciousness is there but no life, all those bodies are all not having any subtle body. There are no subtle bodies for them. That is the difference. Otherwise, consciousness, everywhere it exists. There cannot be any place where consciousness does not exist. But it is able to manifest in some places, and it manifests because of our past karmas. And this body comes, the subtle body, the jiva comes, and also behind them is this causal body. And causal body is described as Karana Sariram, is described as Anirvachaniyam. You cannot define it. The only definition that you can give is cannot be defined. This is Anirvachaniyam. Why? Because it is a negative thing. You cannot act upon anything that is negative. You can act upon only a positive thing, but not on a negative thing. Like, for example, if this place becomes totally dark, you cannot do anything with darkness directly. The only way you can manipulate darkness is to bring light. You can manipulate and control light, and by controlling light, you control darkness, because this is a negative thing. Similarly, ignorance is a negative thing. Ignorance is causal body. It is a negative thing. You cannot act upon ignorance. When we say that you have to get rid of your ignorance, what it actually means is you cannot directly concentrate or manipulate or control ignorance. You can control the opposite of ignorance, which is consciousness. Where consciousness is not there, that is called as ignorance, and there is absence of, your own experience of consciousness, that is known as ignorance. That is why our Atma Vicharam, Bhagavan says, because you cannot do anything with ignorance directly. We are ignorant is itself not known to us. We are ignorant of our own ignorance. We don't even know that we are ignorant. That is our state. That's the complicated state. So, in order to, remove ignorance, Bhagavan says in Atma Vicharam, hold on to that conscious part of yourself. Conscious part of yourself is that I sense. When I combines with this, then it is ignorance. When you are able to concentrate only on the I feeling or the I sense, that is the conscious part of the ego. Cling on to the conscious part of the ego, and that is the sadhana. The simple sadhana. Unarvodu varavu kol. Be friendly with consciousness and be unfriendly with your mind, because mind is unconsciousness. When consciousness is not there, only this mind's activity will be there. So it partakes the consciousness from Supreme Self and it acts upon that thing and it goes on. You cannot fight the mind directly. That's the meaning of the whole thing. You cannot fight with the mind. Oh, I'm going to control the mind. Not possible. Bhagavan says the way to control the mind is to go towards the consciousness that is within you all the time. You are a conscious being. Hold on to your conscious presence all the time, and that is all the sadhana about. Atma Vicharam is clinging on to that conscious part. In fact, one of the upadeshams that he gave to one lady devotee, Akilandammal, Unnai Vidamal Iru, when she wanted to have upadesham, he said, please remain, please be without leaving yourself. Not leaving yourself is holding on to this conscious aspect. That's all the whole thing is about. By doing this, slowly, we will be in a position to get rid of the ignorance, because when you take light into a place where there's a lot of darkness, darkness runs away. Darkness runs away immediately if the light is there. So that is what is Bhagavan's. So causal body is an anirvachaniyam. You cannot define it because it is a negative thing. The positive thing, what is the absence of consciousness, is what we call as ignorance. So hold on to the consciousness. And when you are able to do that successfully, you will be able to transcend all the three bodies and also the three avasthas. So that is what is mentioned here. Jnanaika rupo. I am of the form of awareness. That is my actual form. Everything else is just an appearance. Jnanam alone is there. Awareness is alone there. Whatever else that we see or experience, it is just an appearance. And they're all appearing on this screen of consciousness. Jnanaika rupo. Jagadeka Bandhuhu. I am the support of this entire universe. Jagadeka Bandhuhu. Nirantaro. I talked about it. Eternity. Nirmala. Without any blemish. The blemish comes from mental activity. Identifying with the mind, you are in a state of blemish. You are in a state of sin. Identifying with the mind. Not identifying with the mind, you become sinless. Jagadeka Bandhuhu Nirmala Ishvaroham. Swapnadyavastat Achyuta Nishprapanchaha. Nishprapanchaha, again he says that mind's activity is totally not there. So there is only the state of Turiya, the state of consciousness, that state of Samadhi. There is no world at all. The world is not seen. Just as we not unaware, we are not experiencing the world during the Sushupti state. I will just read out a beautiful verse about this in the same topic from Viveka Chudamani. Some excellent verse. Jagrat Swapna Sushuptishu Sputataram Yosavu Samujrumbhate Pratyagrupataya Sada Aham Iti Antaspuran Yekata. It's also talking about Spuranam. Adi Shankara uses the word Spuranam, just as Bhagavan uses Aham Iti. Antaspuran Yekatha Nanakara Vikara Bhagina Iman Pasyan Ahandi Mukan Nityananda Chidatmana Spuratitam Vidhi Swametam Hridi. He says in this. What he says is, I am able to see that these are all different from me because they're all changes. The changes that are constantly taking place in me. I am able to see one avastha at one time. I am able to see a world. I am able to interact with one type of a world. And then I go to sleep and then I dream there and I have another type of a world. All these things. Who is seeing all these changes? There is a changeless entity which is seeing all these changes. Only when the entity is unchanging, which is watching the whole thing, it can say that there are changes taking place. The very fact that you are able to see and experience changes, it shows that there is a changeless entity in you which is able to see the changes. If I am also changing that, we will not be able to really make out that something or the other. It is not. There is a changeless entity which is there constantly. And then it is able to say that now I am in this state, now I am in this state, I am having this feeling, I am having this pain, I have to do these things. All these things are seen in the mind by that entity which is not changing at all. So that's what he says here. Jagrat, Swapna, Sushuptishu. In all these three states, Putadaram, very clearly, Yosau Samudrimbhate. He who is manifesting in all these things, Ekadha Pratyagrupataya, as an inner self. Pratyagrupam is as an inner self. Somebody is manifesting as the inner self, and it is able to see all these changes. Sada aham, aham, aham. That pure aham is radiating within me constantly. It is getting twisted into a mental identified, mind identified state because of the ignorance. But then this aham never leaves you. Constantly it is there. Catch hold of that aham. As Bhagavan says, this is the conscious part. This aham, in its purity, in its aloneness, it is the conscious part. That's all you are. This other one that you catch on to is all the obstacle for your actual knowledge. We are catching on. All these things constantly, the mind goes and catches something or the other. Like a hook will catch onto a net. Sardata Maharaj used to say, I believe, straighten your hooks, you'll be able to live well. Because with all these hooks, you catch on to something or the other, you get stuck there. You're catching onto a net and you're going to get stuck there. Straighten your hooks, you'll be able to pass through all these things very, very easily. So here he says, Nana Akara Vikara Bhagina Iman Pashyan Ahandhi Mukan. I am able to see all this ahankaram, the activity of the intellect, all these changes I am able to see. But the one who is able to see all these things, this witness is me. So be the witness contest. Be the witness. Is the Upadesham. Be the witness. You are not really the actual ahankaram. You are the witness. You witness all these things. But witness is not an activity. You should not be thinking, I should now witness all these things of who is coming, who is going. No, that is not witnessing. That is an activity. So what is witnessing? Witnessing actually means your presence. You just present. You just are. Things will go. Anything may happen, but you are not going to be affected by that. That is the witness attitude. So take that attitude. Just don't get involved with anything at all. Be the conscious self. Many things will come and go. Many things may disturb you. But remaining undisturbed in that state, that is actually the state of emancipation, the state of deliverance. Not really getting involved in anything. Remaining as the witness all the time. Nirantaro nirmala ishvaroham swapnadyavastachyuta nishprapanchaha. So be away from the three bodies, from the three avastas, and that is what I am. The one that is able to see all these changes, I, the unchanging self, am I. This unchanging self is the supreme self. Ishvara says this, and one more verse we will see. They are all continuation of the same concept, same thought process. Anadi Vijnana Majam Puranam Guhashayam Nishkalam Aprapancham Niranjanam Nishpratimam Niriham Adrishyam Agrahyam Achintya Rupam. All are, Chintyam Achintyam. So everything is Agrahyam. Something that you catch, Agrahyam, you cannot catch that. Everything is negative. You can describe that only in negative terms. There is no method of describing thing that has a positive thing, because it is beyond your concept. It is beyond all the things. So what all you can say is, it's not this, it is not that, it is not this. That's all you can say. You can see this here. Anadi, there is no beginning. Vijnanam ajam, I am not born. If I am born, there is a change. I can't be the change. If there is a change, then it cannot be the Supreme Self. Ajam, Puranam, Kuhasayam, Nishkala, Aprapancham, there is no prapancham at all. Niranjanam, there is no blemish. Nishpratimam, there is no form. Pratima is a form. I am formless. Niriham, nothing can be compared to me. It cannot be any match. There cannot be any comparison. Niriham. Adrishyam, I cannot be seen. Agrahyam, I cannot be grasped. Achintya Rupam, I am beyond all chintanas. Mind cannot grasp me at all. I am beyond all these things. There's a Kaivalya Upanishad. There is a beautiful description. He says, here, Anoraniyan Ahameva Tadvat Mahanaham. I am the smallest of the small anus, and I am also the greatest of everything. Mahanaham. Vishwamidam Vichitram Puranoham Purushoham Ishaha Hiranmayaha Aham Shivarupam Asmi. And it goes on to say, the same Kaivalya Upanishad says, Apani Padoham, without any legs or hands, I exist without any legs or hands, but Achintya Shaktihi, I have immeasurable Shakti. I don't have any legs or hands, but I have an immeasurable, unimaginable Shakti. Pashyam Achakshuhu, without any eyes, I am able to see. Because as consciousness, I am able to see everything. It is not an eye, but it is consciousness which is able to see everything by residing in everything. Aham Pashyam Achakshuhu Sa Shrunomi Akarnaha, without any ear I can listen, I can hear. Aham Vijanami Vivekta Rupaha, I am able to see all the changes in all the rupas here. Na chasti veta mamachit sadaham. There is no knower other than me. I am the only knower. That's what the Kaivalya Upanishad says. And all these verses are talking about the Vastu Lakshanam, the way in which the self can be contemplated upon. You cannot contemplate upon him directly. As I said, the only certain thing that is available to you is this conscious aspect of I. All other things are just concepts. Everything else is just a mind-created thing. The only certainty, the only thing that is not related to the mind is this conscious self, and hold on to it. There is no other method for your deliverance. That's what this particular verse says.